Are you a Muslim who's married or looking to get married? I'm sure you've heard that more than 50% of Muslim marriages are ending in a divorce. Now that's unfortunate, but there's help out there. My name is Hina Mirza. I'm a registered psychotherapist with a specialization in Islamic counseling. And I've been working with hundreds of couples building healthy, happy, strong marriages. Sign up for the course that I just completed with Happy Strong Family to foolproof your marriage and make sure that you have all the right tools and all the right skills to lead a healthy, happy, strong life with your partner.
Hey guys, Assalamu alaikum. How are you? We are live. So, hi, welcome to our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Islamic medicine, prophetic medicine. So, I'm really excited. For most of you guys who watch regularly, yes, you are seeing a new face. So, my name is Fatima, and I'm here with, could you please introduce yourself?
Aiman Attar.
Nice. So she's going to be talking about Islamic medicine, prophetic medicine, and we were just already having such a good chat. So I'm so excited to learn. And I'm really happy I'm able to host this because I was actually about to go into naturopathic medicine myself. So I feel, and this is already a topic of interest. So let's dive in. So Sister Iman, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to learn from you. So yeah, tell us more about this field.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan for having me. Okay, Bismillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. What got me into this field? So my background is I had nothing to do with medicine. I was in sales and marketing. I've been an entrepreneur. I've had several businesses that I've built and developed. I had no knowledge of medicine, no interest in medicine up until about 10 years ago when I became allergic to peppers. So anything that had paprika, chili peppers, sweet peppers, bell peppers, I would start to have anaphylaxis. And the first time it happened was in Ramadan. I was 3 weeks postpartum. I had just had a baby. And I had made food. It was a Friday. I had made food. It was spicy shami kebabs. I ate at iftar with my husband at the time. And within 15 minutes, my entire throat had closed up.
Oh, wow.
And I had never had food allergies in my life before that. And so I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't understand what had happened. Earlier that day, I did react to jalapenos. I was working with jalapenos. I was, coring them, and I started to have an asthmatic attack. And I thought, well, maybe I breathed it in or something. So I didn't fully understand at that moment what was happening. So the first reaction was earlier in the day, and it was more of an asthmatic and itchy hands. The second reaction was when I actually ate spicy food in the evening at iftar time. So I was sitting down on the floor. I was holding my baby, and then I noticed that my throat was swelling, my sinuses were swelling, and I'm trying to breathe from my nose and I couldn't. I was trying to breathe from my mouth and I couldn't. I literally just started to shake my head like I don't know what to do. But alhamdulillah, the body, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed it to have natural epinephrine, like the EpiPen. So the body naturally releases epinephrine in a crisis situation like this.
Oh, wow.
And so I did start to breathe again. But then I instantly said, okay, I need to go to the hospital. I need to do something because this didn't feel right. I ended up calling the nurse hotline. She said, take a Benadryl or an allergy pill, get to the hospital right away. And so that's what I did. By the time I had gotten to the hospital, the medicine had kicked in and I didn't have any other symptoms. I didn't have hives. I didn't have anything else. So they kind of looked at me and said, I don't know, it doesn't look like an allergic reaction, but it's kind of strange that you would experience that. So then for the next 3 to 6 months, it was me trying to figure out because I would repeatedly have accidental reactions. I would eat something and I'd react, and then I couldn't really pinpoint what it was. I suspected it was peppers, but then I thought it was only jalapenos or only spicy peppers. I didn't realize that it would be paprika. I didn't realize it would be bell peppers. So if there was bell peppers in my salad, I would react. And so I was trying to see doctors, I was trying to see allergists, I was trying to see a naturopath, I was trying to see everybody, somebody please tell me what's going on and how do I stop this, because it's very annoying. And the feeling, if you've ever had anaphylaxis or any type of allergic reaction, your body really goes into a war zone. It feels like you're dying. Your heart rate goes out of whack, your blood pressure changes, it drops and it escalates. You will have vomiting, diarrhea. It's almost as if you've been poisoned. And so your body goes through this whole reaction. So for 6 hours, you're extremely ill and you feel like you're dying.
6 hours.
6 hours. And then after that, for the next 2 to 3 days, your body is in recovery where it's not feeling well, you don't have energy.
Wow.
I could lay in bed for a few days. Like it affects your breathing. It's something that I hate so much, this feeling. But I'm also grateful for this whole allergic reaction, because this was the reason I started to do all my research. When the
Mm-hmm.
doctors and the allergists and people were almost not believing me, like they did a skin prick test and said, well, you don't get hives, like it's not looking normal. I'm like, well, okay, I'm telling you, I get like this
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
I can't eat food anymore. And so I had to stop eating everything out. I had to stop eating at people's houses.
Wow.
I can't eat anything because if it has cross contamination, if you cut lettuce on the same cutting board where you just cut bell peppers for the salad, that lettuce is now contaminated and will make me ill.
Wow, that's a lot of carefulness you have to have there.
It creates a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I became very stressed about eating.
Oh no.
I could no longer eat with family. I think the first year or two, I wouldn't say I went into depression, but I got a lot of anxiety. I was very stressed around food. I was very scared of eating anything because I just didn't know when it was going to happen again. I hadn't really pinpointed it. And it was really at that time of this like whole confusion and fear that I thought, okay, like nobody could answer me but Allah. So I'm going to read the book that I have at home. I had a book called Healing with the Medicine of the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by Ibn al-Qayyim. I think everybody has that book at home. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to pick it up and read it. And as I was reading through it, I became frustrated. I'm like, I really don't understand anything that they're talking about. Like, it's so foreign because he talks about temperaments, he talks about constitutions, he talks about humors, he talks about language. Like, none of this stuff makes sense. And I thought, oh my God, this book is dated. I don't really understand it. I did come upon a hadith that I held onto because I'm like, hadiths are timeless. They're never going to go out of style. It's always going to be the truth forever. And the hadith was that black seed was a cure for everything except death.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, if black seed is a cure, then I'm going to take it because it's going to cure me from this, right? And so I started to take black seed every time I had an allergic reaction. And to my surprise, I didn't know at the time that I was taking it, but black seed is an antihistamine. And so when you have allergic reactions, you need an antihistamine to subside it, right?
Okay.
And so when I started to take black seed, I started to notice that my symptoms would stop from escalating and would start to go into remission. But I don't just depend on the black seed. I still do take the antihistamine.
Okay.
But I take the black seed first. And so by doing this, I did this for like 9 months every day. If I accidentally came into contact with peppers, I would take the black seed. After 9 months of doing this, I noticed that my breast tumors disappeared.
Wow.
My gallstone disappeared. My chronic cough disappeared. And so then I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, what's going on here? Like, none of this is making sense to me.
Wait, I have a question. You can take black seed every day?
So you can take black seed every day if you have something that you're fighting, if you have an illness or an imbalance that you're trying to restore health to, right? I don't recommend, like, there's a lot of trends right now that's just like, oh, black seed every day, for life, like a teaspoon of the oil, or they'll tell you turmeric, or they'll tell you maca or powder, or some ashwagandha, right? There's always these trends where they'll tell you this every day if you want to be healthy. I don't believe in that. And that's not from Islamic medicine.
Okay.
And inshallah, I'll explain that as we go along. But I believe that you take the medicine when you need the medicine.
Okay.
But we rely on diet and lifestyle adjustments to restore health first. So the thing that I had to learn is I really had to be careful with cross-contaminations, with getting exposed to my allergens. So the allergen is something that once the body becomes programmed to detect an allergen, it's hard to change that programming. So nothing in modern medicine has the ability to change that programming, except for what they call desensitization, where there are some clinics, and I've looked into this because I wanted to do it. There are some clinics, but they'll only do it on like the peanut type allergy or like the milk type allergy, things that are very common because they've sort of figured it out. Because mine is a very rare allergy to be allergic to peppers, that they don't really do it for my type of allergy. But the point of the desensitization is that they'll expose you to like peanuts in small quantities, slowly increasing until your body has the threshold for it. But then in order for you to maintain that, you have to always have peanuts every day so that you never become allergic again.
Oh, wow.
But that's like the desensitization method. I still don't think of it as a complete cure. Because whatever mechanism broke, it doesn't really fix it. It kind of almost bypasses it. So it teaches the body to be desensitized to this. But they say if you stop eating the peanuts, you'll go back to being allergic.
Wow, I never knew if you were allergic to peanuts, then there's this thing that you can eat peanuts every day and you won't be allergic anymore.
No, they go through a very small, because what they do is they expose the body to it
Mm-hmm.
and in small doses, and then they kind of control the reaction, and then they expand on that. It's almost like a
Okay,
threshold.
nice. I never knew that was
That
a
it does
thing,
exist.
but that's cool.
It does exist. I've
That's
looked into
cool.
it for myself, but unfortunately I can't. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
alhamdulillah, for me, in 10 years, with all the things that I've learned and all the things that I've been doing, I no longer get like the full throat closure. I don't get any, like my symptoms are way less than what they used to be. So now if I'll know that I've had something, because my heart
Okay.
rate will go off.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
feel a little bit ill. I'm like, okay, I think I'm reacting. My breathing might start to change. So immediately I'll take my black seed, I'll take my allergy pill, and I'll just let myself rest for the next 6 hours. And then it
Oh,
passes.
cool,
So it's a
nice.
lot faster as a recovery now than where I was before.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
That's
alhamdulillah.
nice.
Alhamdulillah.
So how much of the black seed would you take, like a teaspoon?
I take the actual seeds themselves, and I take a quarter of a teaspoon.
Oh, wow.
Just a quarter of a teaspoon. Now, some people say, oh, it's only supposed to be 7 seeds. There's a hadith that you're supposed to take 7 seeds. And I said, okay, but that hadith is specifically talking about taking 7 seeds, grinding it,
Mhm.
mixing it with oil, and putting them as drops in your nose. I said, it's obviously not the same dosage if you're using it as a nose drop than if you were taking it to ingest it.
Mhm.
So the dosage has to be different. So that specific hadith is as a nose drop. It's only 7 seeds. You wouldn't want to do
Okay.
more than that. But to ingest it, a lot of the research, the current research that's been being done on black seed or Nigella sativa, is that you can take, I think, 4 grams a day, which equals to a teaspoon of black seed a day.
Okay.
And now the oil is different from the seed. So the
Mhm.
seed is the complete, like it's got all the proteins, carbs, fats, minerals, everything is together. When you squeeze the oil out of the seed, you're only getting the seed, the oil out of it. You're
Mhm.
not getting the carbs and all the minerals and
That's
everything. So you are going to get
Mhm.
some medicinal. You are definitely going to get medicinal benefits from the oil. I just prefer the seed because I think it's just more complete.
okay.
But it has to be ground. A lot of people will just put it in water and drink it, and that won't work, because if you've ever had corn, you'll know that if you don't chew your corn, it comes out the other end exactly
Yeah.
as it went in. So this is the same with seeds. If you don't chew them and break them down, you're not going to release the medicinal properties from them.
Okay, so basically you took 1/4 teaspoon of whole seeds.
Yes, and I would chew it in my
Yeah, chew it.
mouth and make sure, and then it burns the throat a little bit. It gets a little sharp and dry.
Mhm.
It feels like it has
Oh,
a bitter
wow.
taste, but you know what? It has a lot of medicinal properties. Now,
Yeah.
I don't suggest that people just start popping, black seed, because it does interact with your medication. If you're taking diabetes medication, if you're taking high blood pressure medication,
True.
because black seed is a cure for everything, it will reduce your blood
Yeah.
sugar. It will reduce your high blood pressure. It will reduce your cholesterol. So you don't want to automatically just start taking it without really fully understanding when to take it with your medications, how many hours to space them apart, how to track yourself to make sure you're not taking too much, because it's a similar medicine to what you're going to be taking if you are on medications.
Okay.
If you're not on medications, then there's no harm in taking it, and you can try smaller pinches and then increase. Some people find it very strong to eat. But I
Mhm.
use it on my kids. I give my kids, I grind it up, I mix it with honey,
Oh,
and
that's
I feed it to
nice.
my kids when they have colds and flus, and they just recover so much faster.
Oh, that's nice. So, if somebody wanted to take this just for general health, they don't have any specific health issue going on, but they just want to take it for general health, just for mood boosting, a little immunity boosting, like how much dose would you recommend?
So I don't recommend that they do that at all.
Oh.
So would you take antibiotics if you don't have an infection? Would you take an antibiotic just to boost your body?
Well, of course not.
Yeah. And so we treat herbal medicine the same way you would treat prescription medicine, is that it is a medicine.
Okay.
And unless it's a food, so there are some things that are medicinal but are considered food, and there are some things that are herbs that are considered medicine. So black seed is considered a medicine. It's not considered a food. It's not something you would just eat every day. I mean, people do sprinkle it on their bread. They do sprinkle it on their yogurts. But again, they're not taking a large quantity and they're not chewing it. Sometimes it's just getting swallowed as it. So they're not going to really be absorbing much of the nutrients from it anyways. Something like honey is considered a food. So honey is something I recommend that people eat every day, because
Mhm.
honey will feed your gut flora, it'll feed the good bacteria, it'll rebalance your health, it'll clear out mucus from your body. Like, it just does so much, honey. And honey is mentioned as a food and as a drink and as shifa. Like, there's so much more to honey than there is to black seed. But I think people will always give more weight to herbal medicine than they do to food medicine.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I see. Okay, so we've talked about black seed oil and how it's good and it's a cure for everything. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are going through things like migraines and PCOS and yeah, just so many other things. So I feel like black seed would be really good. And you mentioned you take 1/4 teaspoon of not ground, but whole seeds a day.
Yeah.
They were talking about like raw honey.
Not a day per dose. So you could take that up to 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh, okay.
So
per
if I
dose.
was, so first of all, I carry black seed in my purse.
Okay, that's
So I
nice.
always have a little jar of black seed wherever I go. So in case I come into contact, in case I do get a headache. So I'll take black seed as my first treatment for anything. If I get a migraine, I'll take black seed. If I get a stomach ache, I'll take black seed. If I am feeling weak or tired or brain fog, I'm going to take black seed. So black seed will always be the first medicine that I take for anything. That's just my default, because again, I believe the hadith that it's a cure for everything except death. And I wouldn't have known that it would have cured all the other issues that I was having if I didn't try it every time I was having a reaction. So I think if people try it, like, people have noticed their digestive health improves. They are not as bloated. They don't have, indigestion. They don't have like digestive health issues when they take black seed. And there's a lot of science behind that. Like, there's so many reasons as to why black seed can cure. Like, there's over 100 different things it can do in the body. So yes, and again, I'm not suggesting that people take it every day for life. I'm saying that if you have something that is uncomfortable, then that should be the first treatment that you go for. But Islamic medicine isn't just herbs. It isn't just black seed or hijama. And I think there's a lot of especially online, people seem to just really push one or two things as trendy Islamic remedies, and they'll say black seed, everything they make has black seed in it, and then that's like supposed to be medicine. Or they'll recommend hijama for every single illness and say that that's healing for everything. And I think Islamic medicine doesn't quite work like that. Islamic medicine is a holistic medicine, and it looks at you and says that, okay, so first of all, you have a body type. So you have a constitution, a structure. So the way your body builds muscle, stores fat, and metabolizes food is going to be different from me. And so there's 4 different body types in Islamic medicine. And this was taken from Greek medicine and continued through Islamic medicine. Now with that, when we're trying to help someone heal an imbalance, you don't want to just say, what's the herb for headaches? And what's the herb for stomach aches? And what's the herb for infertility?
Okay.
That's a modern herbalism thing. That's a modern medicine thing. It doesn't come from Islamic medicine.
Oh, wow.
Islamic medicine would say, okay, Fatima, okay, you're not feeling well. You have digestive cramps. I'm going to look at your temperament first. Is your body type cold and damp? What kind of foods
wow.
are you eating? Or is your body type cold and dry or cold and hot? So what kind of foods are you eating? How's your digestive system functioning? Are you constipated? Do you have bowel movements regularly?
Is that also taking some aspects from like Chinese medicine? Because I know Chinese medicine, they look if your body's like damp or.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I've heard that.
So okay, let's backtrack. Okay, if you were to look at medicine as a timeline, Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, Indian medicine, are considered amongst the oldest medicines that we have documented. From that, and medicines always take from each other. So you'll have them, translating the works of Chinese scripts into Greek, and so there's always that learning from other countries, their medical systems. Greek medicine was the next medical system that came after the Chinese and Indian medicine. So Greek medicine became the most popular medicine of its time. It became the most advanced medicine of the time, which is why Hippocrates is called the father of medicine. So it was Hippocrates and Greek medicine, and in Greek medicine, they had the 4 body types. Now, one of the things that Islamic scholars say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sent a messenger, he always sent them with what was popular at that time. So at the time of Musa, it was really popular that there was sihr. So sihr was very rampant at the time of Musa. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa with his signs, he sent him with signs that looked like it was sihr, but it was from Allah. Like it was miraculous from Allah. At the time of Isa alayhi salam, which was right after Greek medicine had become popular, Isa alayhi salam was sent with medical miracles. So although medicine had reached its peak at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Isa alayhi salam with medical miracles that medicine at that time could not explain. And you know what? Even medicine at this time would not be able to explain. He did things that even today we can't do.
Like bringing
Healing the blind, curing the lepers, bringing people back from the dead, bringing the bird back to life. So there were certain things that he was able to do by the will of Allah, that he was showing that even though their medicine had reached its height, it still couldn't do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could do. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the Qur'an because the Arabic language had reached its height. And so he sent a book which its literacy was so much far more advanced than any grammar at that time in Arabic, that honestly the Quran itself is a miracle, just the way its language is structured and how it works. So that's why, like, medicine at the time of Greek medicine was considered its height. Now from Greek medicine we have Isa alayhi salam, and then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes, and then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes, and then people start to call the things that he teaches prophetic medicine. So prophetic medicine isn't a complete code of medicine. He doesn't teach us how to have surgeries. He doesn't teach us the dosage of how to take black seed. There's no mention in any of the hadiths of the dosage of medications. And he doesn't really speak about everything. He has a few hadiths and there's a few ayat in the Quran that mention healing, that mention sickness, that mention diseases, headaches, migraines. There's mentions of them, but it's not a complete code the way the Greek medical system was or the Chinese medical system was. And so it was from that foundation that was set that we call prophetic medicine, but this is considered divine. These are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to tell us. So when we hear that hijama is something that was ordered by the angels during the Isra and Mi'raj, then we know that hijama is something we're supposed to use. But hijama was not invented for prophetic medicine. Hijama was existing from Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So it was a practice that was existing, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms, yes, this is a medicine you should use for the rest of your life. Like until the end of time, hijama has now been immortalized as a medicine that should never go out of style. Make sense? So what Islam does is it sort of codifies what is considered halal in medicine, what's not halal in medicine, how we should be, like the things that were existing at the time, keeping them like immortalized until the end of time. Because as we move through generation, things become obsolete. And so hijama can never be obsolete now because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it was the medicine of the time. Whereas there's other practices that they did back then that no longer exist today, and we don't have to bring them back because they don't necessarily have to be the best for us, right? Does that make sense? And then from that, we get all these scholars who were herbalists and botanists and doctors at the time, like that were practicing Greek medicine or Chinese medicine, and now they have the Islamic rules, so they start to put everything. So if you were to think of it as a chart, prophetic medicine fed into this box called Islamic medicine. And now Islamic medicine took from Chinese medicine, it took from Greek medicine, it took from Persian medicine, took from Indian medicine. All of these concepts were brought into Islamic medicine. They were translated, and then everything was passed through the lens of Islam. Like, does this make sense Islamically? Does this follow the rules that we have? No? Okay, throw it out. If yes, then they modified it to make sure that it fits. So Islamic medicine is really the culmination of the prophetic medicine and all the traditional medical systems. And so I think one of the people had asked in the audience, in the Q&A, they said, is it Islamic medicine or modern medicine? And the answer is Islamic medicine would contain modern medicine. So as medicine advances and new things are developed, so long it doesn't contradict the rules of Islam, it would still be considered Islamic medicine. So a lot of the medical practices we see today would still be considered Islamic medicine. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
Okay, so Islamic medicine actually encompasses so many things. Like, I didn't actually know that hijama was from Chinese medicine. I thought it literally originated from Islamic medicine, and then Chinese people were just doing it. That's what I thought. But,
No, so
wow.
black seed is not from Islamic medicine. Black seed is not from prophetic medicine. Black seed existed as medicine before that. People were using black seed in Greek medicine. They were using it in Chinese medicine, like in other medical systems, Indian medicine. They were using it.
Yeah, I didn't know
honey
that.
was always used as medicine. So none of the medicines that we actually have were, the only thing that is considered different would be the Qur'an as medicine, because nobody else had the Qur'an as medicine. So Surah Al-Fatiha is medicine, and a lot of Quranic ayat, like the entire Qur'an is medicine. But most people won't even use the Qur'an as medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always ask people, I'm like, okay, if you're sick, can you take antibiotics? How many times do you take antibiotics? You take it 3 times a day for 7 or 10 days, sometimes a month, right? Now, if you're sick, how many times would you read Quran a day as medicine?
Yeah, as much as you need to when you feel to.
But most people won't.
I know.
Most people won't. Most people will not. They'll say, no, I'm sick. I'm laying in bed. I'm tired. I'm not feeling well. Well, yeah, but this is your medicine.
Yeah, most people, I notice human beings have this tendency to turn more towards like music or movies or comfort food instead of reaching towards the Quran when we feel unwell emotionally. But it would be wise to like practice turning to the Quran more as healing.
Well, there's only 2 things mentioned as a cure in the entire Quran. Only 2 things. The Quran is called Shifa,
Yeah, Quran is Shifa.
and honey is called Shifa. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mention anything else as a cure. And a cure isn't a treatment. So black seed is considered a cure, but certain things that we take, like for instance, senna leaves are a prophetic sunnah that he recommended, but that would be considered maybe a treatment. It's not something you would do for everything, right? So it's a treatment for a specific condition. But
What's
Shifa,
senna leaves, by the way?
Senna leaves it's a leaf that causes like it's a laxative. It's it's a natural laxative. It's a leaf.
Okay.
And so it is from the sunnahs, from the prophetic medicine, that to take senna leaves for like if you have constipation or digestive issues.
Okay.
But then again, Islamic medicine is what kind of said, okay, what's the dose and how often and what happens if you take it too much? Like they classified all that information. But Islamic medicine isn't just herbs. You know, Islamic medicine is always first Quranic therapy. You've got your morning adhkar, evening adhkar. You've got specific dua before, so you don't get sick. There's like prevention duas. Then there's duas when you're specifically sick, what you're supposed to say. There are specific ayat that you could recite for, like, obviously Surah Al-Fatiha is known. There's many hadith that says that this is shifa. So again, if you have a headache, if you're stuck in bed, you have a migraine, you've got cramps, you've got a tumor, anything, you're supposed to place your hand on your body and recite Surah Al-Fatiha. And it's not just once. And it's not like saying, oh, I did it once, it didn't work. Or I did it, 7 times this morning, it didn't work. Well, no, you're supposed to use it again and again and again and again. The same way you would take antibiotics several times for a week or a month in order for you to heal, you should use that medicine repeatedly. I think that's the other issue we have with Islamic medicine or prophetic medicine. People expect to take 1 dose of black seed or 1 dose of Quran or 1 dose of honey and say it didn't work.
Yeah, people do that because we want like fast results. So people tend to have that thinking,
But even at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, there's a hadith where a man came to him and said his brother has digestive issues. He had diarrhea or something in his stomach that was hurting him. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said to him, instruct him to eat honey. And so he comes back the next day, he says it didn't work. And he says, tell him to eat honey. And then he comes back the 3rd day and says it didn't work. He says, tell him to eat honey. And then he comes back and he says it worked. And he says, it was his stomach that like the dosage wasn't right. The frequency wasn't right. So it is going to work. We just have to be persistent and keep doing it.
Consistent. Remember, guys, consistency is key in everything. Yeah.
So does that answer the question? Have I explained the difference between prophetic medicine and Islamic medicine? So prophetic is really divine from Allah. It doesn't change over time. Islamic medicine can change because it's going to evolve with the time. So we might learn that the dosage of black seed should be XYZ based on current research. So we're able to adjust things in Islamic medicine.
Yeah.
But prophetic medicine, it kind of established that hijama would be medicine. It established that herbs would be medicine. It established that Quranic ayat would be medicine. It established that diet would be medicine. So there's a hadith where Ali radiallahu anhu comes and he's sitting with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reaching and eating dates, and Ali wants to eat the dates, and he says, don't eat them because you're still recovering. So he understood that the illness that Ali radiallahu anhu had a temperament, so it could have been hot, and dates are hot. So by eating the dates, it was going to aggravate his condition. So he says, don't eat them. So we do have to modify our diets when we're sick. And most people will just continue to eat exactly the same, regardless of how they're feeling. They're like, no, that's my diet. It's what I usually eat for breakfast. But no, when you're sick, you should adjust your breakfast or lunch or dinner.
What are some things you would recommend in someone's diet when they're sick?
So the most important thing when you're sick is that you eat light.
Light.
So you want easy to digest light meals. And actually one of the biggest reasons why we have so many diseases is because we eat heavy meals consistently. We eat meats consistently. We eat And heavy is anything that would have carbs, fats, and proteins, like all. So if you think of lasagna, that's a heavy meal. Pizza, that's a heavy meal. Biryani, that's a heavy meal. Right? Light meals would be like a lentil soup or a dal and rice.
Or like bone broth. Bone broth is so good.
Bone broth, it's still considered heavy because it has a lot of fat
Yeah, it
and
does have
meat.
fat,
It
but
is
it's-
hard. It can be hard to digest on some stomachs.
Yeah, but it'd be really good if like someone's sick.
Yeah, but so when you're doing bone broth that's like been stewing for many hours, it extracts a lot more nutrients and might be
Yeah,
heavier.
that's true.
When you do the lighter soups, when you just boil chicken soup for 2 hours, you're still going to get the nutrients, but it's not going to be as heavy as like a bone broth. So I find bone broth is heavier to digest than chicken soup.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is why I think traditionally you'll hear people say, "Oh, he's sick, give him chicken soup."
Yeah, true.
And now
true.
soups are actually really good. Why? Because when you put food into water and you boil it for several hours, the water for anything, it extracts nutrients. So when you put herbs in water, the water is going to extract the nutrients. When you put honey in water, the water is going to extract the nutrients from honey. So when anything you put into water, like soup, you're going to extract those nutrients and you're going to make it easier for your body to digest it because now it's being consumed almost half broken down for you.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas
true,
if you were to eat steak while you're sick, your stomach's going to need 6 hours to break that down. And if the body is trying to repair, because think about your body as it can only do one thing. It can either digest food or it can heal and repair. It can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, it does take a lot of energy to digest, and I've noticed, and maybe you guys have noticed as well, that like when I'm sick, I don't want to eat that much.
And that's completely normal.
Yeah.
And you should be eating things that are easy to digest and light.
Yeah, and when I'm sick, I crave water way more than food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That would make sense.
Yeah, and I want soups more.
Soups and sometimes fruits. I find that kids will sometimes just crave something cooling. Depends on what the illness is. So I do think that the body kind of calls and craves for certain things that are going to help it. I know my kids now are so used to herbs that they'll actually tell me I need black seed or I want this. Like they know now what herb is going to
That's
make them feel
nice.
better
Yeah,
because they're so used to it.
that's nice.
But Islamic medicine, I think another question that I often get is like, what herb should I take for infertility, or what herb should I take for menstrual cramps, or what herb should I take for migraines? And Islamic medicine isn't just herb like a pill, right? Like we don't swap pills for herbs. Islamic medicine is just like, okay, well, what dietary changes do you need to make?
Yeah, like more holistic.
Holistic. Like, what are we going to change in your diet? What are we going to change in? Are you reciting more Qur'an than you usually do? Are you doing more adhkars? Are you
Yeah.
taking water baths? Because bathing in water also has healing effects. So water affects us not just for drinking,
have a
but
question.
actually physically being in water. Yes.
Some people say that being in water, not just bathing, but like being in the rain, dancing in the rain, going for a swim in the ocean, like it feels very healing for them.
Absolutely. That's called nature therapy. So we are designed from the earth. And there is a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he put his fingers in the soil, and he says that from the soil is from the saliva of a human, and from the touch of the soil is a shifa, is a healing for the sick. So you would sort of like lick your fingers, dip it into the soil, and then put it on the place of pain, and that's also supposed to cure you.
Oh.
There is a hadith of that. And that's a
Wow.
practice that nobody knows. Like I've never even had the chance to do
That's the
it.
first time I'm hearing it.
I live in concrete. I don't even know where to do that. I don't even know where to go touch soil.
So you lick your fingers, put it in soil, and put it where you have pain.
Put it where you have pain. But there's
Oh,
a specific dua you're supposed to say.
Okay, wow.
Like the specific hadith. So it is healing for us to be in nature, to be in the sunshine, because we are created from the earth. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has hadith where he stepped out into the rain and let the rain fall on him. He did walk barefoot. Like these are things that we are supposed to do to reconnect. And it changes our, like they've done a lot of studies on it, how it changes the body's, like even, I don't know what the right word for it is. I don't know if it's like our electrical energy, because we have electricity in us.
Yeah.
But like the whole grounding thing is from the sunnah.
Grounding,
It's definitely from the sunnah. Yes.
Like walking on grass barefoot. I actually do that sometimes. It's nice.
Yes. And I actually make sure that I spend at least 20, 30 minutes a day outside. I have to see the sun. I have to feel the wind, because we are like plants.
Yeah.
You don't just need water. You need sun and wind.
Speaking of water. Yeah.
So yeah, we do need all of that. And so actually in one of the courses that I teach the 7 healing therapies of Islamic medicine. And the first one would be Quranic therapy or dua. The other one would be honey therapy.
Honey.
I teach water therapy. I teach hijama therapy. Now, I don't teach you how to do hijama, but I teach you how hijama could be beneficial for certain things. And then there's environmental therapy, so your space where you are, outside, inside, because all of that is going to affect you. And then herbal therapy. And there's one more. What's the other one that I mentioned? There's Qur'an, honey. What I said, water therapy. Water is very healing too.
Yeah.
I'm slipping my mind the seventh one right now. But the herbal therapy is also, it's just, dietary therapy. That's the seventh one.
Dietary therapy.
So that's what makes up like the 7 things we should be doing to restore our balance. Don't just go to one herb, or don't just, I mean, people, it's easier to pop pills. It is a lot faster to feel better a short term when you take pills, but it has longer term negative effects. So if you are diagnosed with high blood pressure, yes, you should take the medication so that you're not in a dangerous state, but you have to readjust your lifestyle so that you reduce that naturally. And you can, it's all possible. They're all metabolic diseases.
Yeah. So we've been talking about a lot of things right now. So like black seed oil, how like take it as a treatment whenever you feel something like a migraine or allergies. We were talking about honey. Honey is something we can take daily, and it's like a shifa from the Quran. We're also talking about how I'm just trying to repeat this so I remember it, and also for the viewers as well. And we're talking about how Quran itself, like reciting Quran verses itself, is so good for shifa, not just like diseases or conditions, but also I feel like mental health is so good, especially Surah Fatiha and water, grounding.
So let's go back to Quran for a minute, because there's this huge trend to actually calm yourself down, to reduce anxiety, to feel like to the whole vagus nerve, like the whole vagus nerve thing, right? So everyone talks about, even humming or singing is going to calm you down. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously a genius in his design, and the way he designed us is that when we recite Quran with tajweed out loud, you are going to create that vibration and that hum internally that calms you down. So it's a lot more effective than singing or humming. But again, most people will do the singing and humming because it's a lot more work to learn how to read Quran and then, recite out loud. But again, this is something that we should be doing. And we are, the biggest flaw with modern medicine, if I can just touch upon that, is that modern medicine is built upon an atheistic view of life. So there's no God in the equation, and the creation story is not there.
Yeah, we don't really talk about God when it comes to medicine.
There is no, it's an atheistic medicine. It's all about evolution. Anyone who goes to medical school. So the saddest thing is for me is that I look around worldwide, and no matter where you go, you can go to Saudi, you can go to Turkey, you can go to USA, you can go to UK, because medicine is globalized and they're all learning the evolution theory of medicine. They're not learning the creation theory of medicine. That what we have now is that we have doctors in Saudi who are practicing medicine according to evolution. They're not practicing it according to how we are designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're not, they can't break away from that, because once you're licensed and you are a part of a big organization, you have to go according to what they're teaching. You can't go against it. But we don't have anyone worldwide that's teaching Islamic medicine, meaning that I think doctors, and like, this is my personal opinion, if you're going to be a medical practitioner, if you're going to be a doctor, I think you should know the Quran. If you don't have it memorized, you should know the Quran. You should at least be a student of the Quran. You should know the Arabic language, because there's so much knowledge in the Arabic language from traditional texts that we're missing out on. They should understand hadith, because you need to be able to connect why the person is sick. We are not just physical beings. And the way current medicine does it is that there's no God in medicine, and then there's also no spirit. There's no soul. They don't treat you like your soul is sick. They treat you like your body is sick. Your brain is not working properly, so they give you anti-anxiety medications. But what if it's sihr? And what if it's ayn? And what if it's hasad? And what if it's your soul screaming for the Quran and you're ignoring it, so you're feeling depressed? They're just going to medicate you.
That's
because
true.
They're not looking at you from a spirit perspective and a soul perspective. We also have a nafs. So our nafs will demand certain things from us. We also have shaitan that whispers things. So we have so many enemies that medicine doesn't even acknowledge. They don't even acknowledge that all of these things are affecting us.
Yeah, that's true.
They're only looking at you as a physical being with chemical balances. And if these chemical balances are off, they're just going to give you a medicine that's artificial, the synthetic, that's going to balance it out. Again, I'm not knocking modern medicine. They have amazing advancements in diagnostics, in emergency crisis situations.
Yeah.
But as a holistic medicine, I think it's lacking.
Yeah, like one thing I've heard is like if somebody is like, let's say, being possessed by a jinn, they may think, oh, it's schizophrenia or something, you know?
Right,
Mhm.
right. Unfortunately, there's not even in the Islamic world, because there isn't enough knowledge as to what you should be looking for, how do you determine if someone has it, and how to treat it. Like even in the Islamic world, unfortunately, I find that it is lacking because they rely on the modern medicine system a lot.
Mhm. Also, what about this? I've heard that when it comes to a lot of it's definitely true, like what you mentioned. What about emotions? Like I think it does relate to what you're saying, but I also heard that a lot of people's emotions influence like their health and stuff. For example, if somebody tends to have a lot of anger, it mostly affects their liver. If somebody tends to have a lot of like overthinking, tends affects their spleen.
And so, yes, emotions affect our body. There's no, we don't disconnect that. Emotions will affect, I think, everything. It can affect your heart. It's going to affect your digestive system. It's going to
Yeah.
affect your liver. I think we don't really pinpoint it to one, but we know,
Yeah.
we know from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that when somebody is grieving, that you are ordered to eat talbina.
Yeah.
And talbina is actually cooling. So the nervous system can get hot, right? And so when you're eating these cooling foods, you're going to calm it down. And talbina in particular is cooling to the intestines, and the intestines are connected to the brain. So in modern medicine, they've determined that the intestines are the second brain. So
Mhm.
there's a huge like railway tracks between the brains and the
and
the
your gut
digestive
health
health.
is like
And
your brain health.
yes, and so you've got like all these chemical things that are happening inside the body that when you restore your gut health. And so I find it fascinating that at the time talbina is ordered, that this is going to calm the digestive system, it's going to calm the nervous system, it's going to make the person grieving feel better. So there is that connection between food and grief. In terms of healing, there is that connection between grief or sadness or anger and how the body is going to respond. And we also know that, like for instance, there's hadith that that shaitan will run through our blood. So when we're angry,
Yeah.
where shaitan is running through our blood. So again, that's, you're not going to get that from a modern medicine perspective. They're always going to treat it in a different way, but we have to look at it from Islam. So what's the treatment if shaitan's running in your blood? You make wudu. It calms you. You lay down, you sit down. Like there's all these, and again, this affects how the blood runs in our body. So I think Islam is a lot more in tune to how we are designed.
Yeah.
Whereas modern medicine is just kind of isolating
Yeah.
one thing and saying, okay, let's work with that.
Yeah, that's something many people talk about. Like modern medicine's not that holistic, and we need to be more holistic.
And Islamic medicine is shifa, like holistic for everything. You're not just going to heal your physical self, you're going to heal your spiritual self, you're going to heal your emotional self, your mental health. Everything is connected. And if you're doing the right things from an Islamic medicine perspective, you're going to feel that improvement. And not to say that we don't need therapy or we don't need certain things from modern medicine. Yes, there are benefits to that, but I think that we have to rely a lot more heavily on Islamic medicine first.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I can't remember if there were any other questions that came through.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can go to questions now. We have more coming in, and I'll display them on the screen also, inshallah. So before we get to the questions, I just want to share where. Sorry, let me just get it up on the screen here. Where inshallah folks can reach you. So we'll display your Instagram.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, what is the handle?
Nurasunna.
Yeah, nurasunna is the handle. So I think you're active on Instagram. Mashallah, a lot of great information
Yes.
to share there.
Yes.
So,
and I do teach 2 courses as well.
Hmm.
And I have a membership that's launching this week. So if they go to propheticmedicine.com.
yeah, so we're displaying it on the website, and we've been displaying it in the captions also.
Yeah.
So yes. So if you just want to talk a little bit about what you offer and
Sure. So, after all of these years of research, I decided that I couldn't just keep it all to myself anymore. I felt a little bit selfish that I was only benefiting.
Mhm.
And I could start to see that it was affecting my kids, affecting my friends, that I decided that I'm going to kind of like summarize this knowledge and create a master class. So I do teach a foundational master class that really teaches you like the 7 healing therapies. It teaches you like the how to debunk the myths. Like, there's a lot of myths about milk being bad or meat being bad or wheat being bad. And people are very lost and confused, but these are all prophetic foods. So how do we
Yeah.
like reconcile that? So this entire course goes through that. There's like 16 hours of like content that people can sort of like just get a crash course in from an Islamic medicine and an Islamic nutrition perspective. And so I teach that. There's a pre-recorded version and I also teach it live. So there's 2 different options that people can take. I also have a Living by Design mentorship program that I do. This is a 6-month-long program, and I introduce people to how to eat more in balance. So how to use diet as prevention as opposed to just always waiting till you get sick. So like how to learn how to eat according to Islamic medicine. And the healing hive that I'm going to be launching this week, inshallah, that's more for people who just want remedies. Like, I don't want to study. I don't want to learn about the human body. I don't want to learn about how to balance myself. I just want a remedy for colds and flus because my kids are sick. Like, so people who just need a remedy, I'm going to have that launched, inshallah. I also give away a free book on my website, Islamic Medicine's Guide to the Body Types, because I did mention that we have 4 different body types that Islamic medicine uses. So anyone who's interested in just learning more about that from an Islamic medicine perspective, learning more about their body and their temperament and how food affects them, I just recommend that they read that book. It's like a 1-hour read, but it really is a nice foundation to understanding your body.
Nice.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah.
we displayed that information on the screen. So inshallah, anyone that's interested can reach out. So alhamdulillah, we have a lot of questions and comments coming in. So let's go through some of the comments. So alhamdulillah, mashallah, very important topic, great discussion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely.
Ameen. Ameen.
So we also have someone saying, mashallah, sister is so knowledgeable and articulate. May Allah bless her. Thank you, organizers, for the episode. Jazakallah khair to organizers and guests. MashaAllah, so much benefit. Inshallah, all families should pursue this more learning in this, maybe more learning in this. That's what they meant to say. Our very own Dr. Rashid is watching, so he just says, MashaAllah, excellent ideas. We also need to return to the basics, pure and wholesome food and regular sleep hygiene. We've done past episodes on sleep hygiene with Dr. Rashid and with others, so I definitely recommend people check those out. Dr. Rashid also saying connect with nature by walking, watching the sun rise and set, be selective with digital exposure. Absolutely connect spiritually. So Dr. Rashid also reinforcing some of your thoughts there, alhamdulillah. So I'll go with the live questions first in case the folks are still on and listening. So one of them was coming on was Assalamu alaikum. What courses would you recommend for someone in Toronto with no background in health if they want to study this? So I know we gave your website out, but is there anything you would like to add on top of that?
And so I think if they took the 2 courses that I teach as a foundation, that's really going to help them that if they want to pursue it as an education. So there's no harm in taking a medical degree or a naturopathic degree. The only problem is once you enter into those fields, because I considered it for myself, once you enter into those fields, you are really handcuffed by the organizations. You are not allowed to prescribe someone black seed and make your own concoctions.
Yeah.
So when you're a naturopathic doctor, you can only prescribe the nutraceuticals that they allow you to. And when you're a medical doctor, you're only allowed to follow the protocols that you're given. If you step away from that, you lose your license. So it's very frustrating for people who want to practice Islamic medicine and help others with Islamic medicine. If they have a medical degree, they're handcuffed, which is the reason why I didn't pursue it. I said, if I go that route, I won't be able to do what I do right now. So the other thing that I would recommend is that everybody should be getting a hijama certification, because you should really understand how the body works through hijama. Like, it's going to teach you understanding that that's a simple cure that you could use at home. You have a headache, you could easily do hijama for yourself, for your family members.
Wow.
So this is something that we should all have in our house. Like, my daughter does hijama on my back, even dry cupping. It doesn't have to be with blood. But if I wake up with a migraine, if I wake up with stiff shoulders, if I'm in pain, if my foot hurts, I'm going to have hijama done first, because that's going to be the quickest sunnah method.
Where, if people want to get a hijama certification, where do you recommend they get it? Like,
so there's 2 places that I'm studying with. I'm studying with Dr. Naveen Sharaf. And she actually did a podcast with me on my YouTube channel. So if they went to youtube.com at nurasunna, then they would be able to watch that podcast. And she teaches, I like it. I like the way she teaches because she's a medical doctor and she teaches anatomy at University of Ottawa. And she's also a hijama practitioner who teaches doctors how to be hijama practitioners. So she's very knowledgeable. And she has courses where you could just do like how to do dry cupping hijama at home. And so this is like a 2-3 hour course that you could take with her. And it just makes it easier for you to buy your kit from Amazon or from any Islamic store and then use the cups at home. You don't have to do bloodletting to feel the benefits of hijama. The other place that I'm taking it with is Hijama Nation. And I think everyone knows them worldwide. They've taught and had a lot of certified hijama specialists. They have a little bit of a different perspective, but I find both very beneficial. Other than that, I would recommend that people start studying herbalism. So if you have interest in becoming more invested in Islamic medicine, so if you've got your hijama and you're working on your Qur'an, because that's always going to be the number one thing that's going to protect you as you enter into this field, then the other thing I would recommend that they do is a herbalism diploma. So they could get that from anywhere online. Now, herbalism has different methods. There's more Western herbalism. There's Chinese herbalism. In all of herbalism, you're going to find kufr. You're going to find things that are not Islamically permissible, which is why I say the person has to have a strong Islamic foundation first, because when you're learning from the kuffar, their herbalism, you're going to pick up things that are going to be very shady. So I think it's important that people know how to distinguish that. Inshallah, if Allah gives me life and gives me time, then I do hope to create an Islamic herbalism certification program. But Allah, I'm a mother of 5.
Oh, wow.
And I have a lot on my plate
Yeah.
with the work that I do and the research and the ones that I help as well, because I also do one-on-one coaching that, I'd like to do that long term, but I still have to devote a lot of time to family first.
True.
So mashallah. So that's a good segue into the next question that came up live here. So may, mother of 5, you mentioned, may Allah bless you and your family.
Ameen.
So a question that's coming up is sisters. So sorry, before I get into these next set of questions, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that this is a podcast. Obviously, we can't. There's a lot of specific situations, and without knowing
Right.
history, so we can just offer general advice. But for specific situations, I do recommend people reach out to the sister or others with knowledge of Islamic medicine, herbalism in your local areas, inshallah. So the question that's coming up is sisters' recos on herbs and pregnancy and thoughts on vaccinating children / babies. So I know that could be a whole topic on its own for a podcast, but just in general, inshallah.
Right. Now, herbalism has always been used to help regulate women's like fertility, menstrual cycles. So there's a lot of herbs that are used traditionally. Different herbs are going to affect different body types. So I don't ever give herbal recommendations until I've done like an assessment on you. So I would need to know your body type. I would need to know your dietary habits. I would need to know what medications you're on. I would need to know all the symptoms that you're feeling, because it's like kind of piecing a puzzle together. So if you say to me, oh, I have PCOS, well, okay, but what else is going on? Because it's not, PCOS doesn't just show up on its own. PCOS is like level 5 of your body screaming. So there's been 4 other steps before that we have been ignoring before you get to PCOS. So what are the other things that are going on? So people might have skin issues. People might have menstrual issues. People might have digestive issues. People might have constipation issues. People might have migraine issues. There might be other things that are going on that I would need to piece together. And so then looking at the person's body type, looking at their diet, that's where we make the changes. I always give like several recommendations. You have to change this, you have to add this, you have to take away this, you have to use this herb. And there might be several herbs. You might have to use a combination of herbs. So Ibn al-Qayyim says in his book that people who have simple diets will develop simple diseases. People who have complex diets will develop complex diseases. And complex diseases can't be solved with simple compound medicines. You can't have just one herb for a complex disease. So you might need a combination of herbs to restore the balance of the complex disease that you've got. Hope that answers it.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So then we had a few questions, related questions here. Let me see, where did it go? Sorry, I just got to scroll through them. So eczema, rashes, reactions in children's, any recommendations? My own children, like they have like eczema, so me and my wife are constantly trial and error with their diets. We gotta get things out of their system. it seems very common now that children have eczema, is like what
Yeah.
I'm sort of seeing.
It,
And then a related question is, daily black seed with honey, will it help in rashes?
so I'll answer them both separately. The first one with regards to eczema. So anything with the skin, your skin is a reflection of your inner health. And so your skin is an organ. And if you think of your digestive system from your mouth all the way to your rectum, there's this huge tube. And inside of that, it's like a mucosal membrane. It's supposed to have like mucus. This whole tube, if it's not well on the inside, which means your digestive health is not well on the inside, it's going to reflect upon your skin. If your liver is congested, it's going to reflect on your skin. Now, let's just say you're a choleric body type. So your body type is hot and dry. Your liver is going to be the most prominent organ that's active, like it's going to be overproducing for this particular body type. Sometimes you develop rashes or you develop eczema because you're eating hot foods, hot dry foods, like dates, like ginger. You might be eating chili. You might be eating things that are going to increase the heat in the body and then therefore rupture on the skin. It could also be that the gut flora is off balance and you would have to restore the gut health. There are certain foods that trigger eczema. So like my son has eczema and his eczema triggers whenever he has citrus fruits. So when he eats citrus, his eczema is going to flare up. Now that doesn't mean that you don't allow him to eat citrus. It means you remove it, you rebuild the gut health, you create that barrier again that's supposed to be existing in the intestines, and then you reintroduce the foods. So eczema can be cured. It's not a lifelong thing. It just usually points in the direction that the gut health is not well. There's probably leaky gut where the little barriers in the intestines have opened up the junctions and then stuff is going through, and so your skin is a reflection of that. You can use topical lotions that you can make yourself. So I do have a lotion that I make that's made of beeswax, shea butter, olive oil, and I use them almost in equal portions, and then I add frankincense and honey to it because that helps heal the skin. So you could use it topically to make things easier, but that's only like a Band-Aid effect. It's going to heal it for a few hours. You really want to get to the root cause, which is in the digestive system, to heal that. And so again, cooling, think of like if your skin is oozing and hot, that means there's excessive inflammation. So that means you have to cool the internal system. There are going to be herbs that'll cool that off.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. Have you heard of beef tallow?
Yes.
Yeah, that's also been said to be really good for eczema as well.
So any type of fat on the skin is going to help give it that barrier. So when the skin gets dry and cold, it's going to crack and it's going to ooze. Now, fall, winter months will be worse for some people. Summer months, not so bad. Again, it's all connected. It's not just one place, one thing. Most people who have eczema, it is digestive, and it could be that the liver is unable to handle everything. So you might have to work on, healing the liver first. The other question was.
The other question was about black seed oil. Here it is. Daily black seed oil with honey, will it help in rashes?
Will it help in rashes? Now, again, it depends on the type of rash. There's no harm in trying the black seed and honey as a combo, but the rash could be a heat rash, meaning the person is eating too much heat. Now, I'll give you an example. Honey is warming and moistening. If you eat too much honey, or if you have too much black seed, your body could also erupt in a rash. Because if it goes too much, if you get too much heat in your system, it has to go somewhere. It usually comes out on the skin. So sometimes someone who eats too much honey might get really hot, they might get really itchy, and they might think, oh my God, I'm reacting to honey. Well, no, maybe you're choleric, maybe your body type was already too hot, maybe you've had too many hot things today, and now you're experiencing that on your skin, and it won't last long. So that's why I'm saying it can't be like it's not a black and white answer to symptom treatment. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a little bit more holistic. And I think that's the hardest part for most people, is they have a really hard time stepping away from that concept of what can I take for this symptom? And it's like, well, no, your symptom is your body talking. Your symptom is your body telling you something's off balance. I guarantee you those who have eczema probably have maybe other issues going on. They might have diarrhea, they might have constipation, they might have like food habits that are just very extreme. They don't eat fruits. Every time I do consultation sessions, I'm amazed how the body has said so many other things to this person, but they only focused on this one thing that's bothering them.
Allahu Akbar.
There's so many other things that were ignored.
Jazakallah khair. So I know we're at the top of the hour, so we might have to. I want to get through them because these questions are coming live, and I
Sure.
think the folks are there. So might have to be a little the rapid fire here. Apologies for that. So one was saying, what is the treatment of acid reflux causing sore throat? I mean, which food or diet can help?
So acid reflux can happen for two reasons. It could be that you are producing too much stomach acid, or that you're not producing enough to digest the food that you ate. A lot of people will experience acid reflux because they eat heavy meals past 7 o'clock at night. So most people have their dinner 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. This is their heaviest meal. They're having rice, they're having biryani, they're having like koftas, they're having the heaviest meal at the evening hour. Well, your body's going to need the next 4 to 5 hours to digest it. So once you lay down to sleep, you're going to get that acid coming up because the stomach's still working. So a lighter diet, eating less food, then trying to determine if you don't have enough stomach acid, apple cider and vinegar is going to help. And if you have too much stomach acid, then like baking soda and water would help. So it's just, you sort of have to figure out, is that excessive stomach acid? And you'll know that by if you take, I think, a quarter of a teaspoon of baking soda with water, if it cools off the acid and you feel better, then you know it was too much stomach acid. If it doesn't help, then you're going to need apple cider vinegar and water, and that increases the stomach acid to help digest the food. So
Wow.
there's ways to sort of figure it out. But again, the simplest answer is acid reflux is your body saying, I'm struggling digesting the food. You have to eat less. You have to eat lighter. You have to give your body a break, a healing phase.
You have
so
to
that
eat earlier.
you have to
Dinner
eat. You have to
earlier.
eat smaller portions. A lot of people eat way more than their stomach can actually handle. So their body is communicating, I'm unable to handle what you're giving me. So now you have to change what you're giving. If you continue to do the same things, expecting different results, it's only going to make it worse.
Mhm.
You have to change what you're doing until the symptom goes away. And so it requires eating a lighter diet, smaller portions, and then, but like that instant calming it down immediately, apple cider vinegar might work in that instant, but that doesn't mean you do it all the time.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Perfect. Jazakallah khair. So there was a question about what is the best time to take vitamin D and biotin supplements. Now, vitamin D obviously like is exposure from the sun, right? So I think I've heard in Canada, like just by default, people are chronically low on vitamin D.
Mhm.
So vitamin D, would you just recommend that everyone be on vitamin D supplements or?
So I don't recommend supplements because that's not really my field of study. I do more of the herbs and the natural stuff. Whatever their doctor has recommended for their supplements is when they should be doing it. I wouldn't interfere with their medications.
Jazakallah. Yeah, and that's the point we made. Like a lot of this is case by case and specific. So absolutely. So another question that was coming here that came through Instagram was, get to it. Where they go? Sorry, I just got to scroll through them. There's so many have come in that it's hard to. Okay, yeah. So this is a big one. All of us know someone or someone close or in our circles that cancer has affected pretty much all families by now. And my mom actually passed away of cancer, and you would hear people just being nice and stuff, but they will come, oh, try this, it's going to cure it, it's going to go away, it's going to go so everyone had advice to offer.
Right.
But from an Islamic medicine, prophetic medicine basis, is there anything that mentions cancer specifically, or what the question that came is any preventive or reactive herbs or suggestions for cancer?
So again, this is more because people are so influenced by modern medicine that they're always thinking of how to avoid disease, how to prevent disease. But the Sahaba, subhanAllah, they had a completely different perspective on illnesses. Their perspective of illness is they welcomed it because it was a means of purification and they wanted to be purified of their sins, right? So it's a completely different mindset from how modern medicine will view a disease versus Islamic medicine will view a
True.
disease. With regards to things like cancer or any type of, like I became allergic to peppers out of the blue, people will all say, well, what can I do to prevent that? And I say to them, not every disease is caused by diet or caused by lack of something in our diet. Because we are spiritual beings, because we have a relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test somebody with a disease. Just test them. It has nothing to do with what they did, has nothing to do with what they ate. And I'll give you the example of Ayyub alayhi salam. Everybody knows that Ayyub alayhi salam was tested severely with his health. He lost his wives, except for one. He lost his children. He lost his wealth. He lost his health. He was bedridden. Now, he was tested so severely that there were people in his village, and he even had he had like something on his skin. I can't remember what it's called, but people were like repulsed from even coming near him because they were afraid it was contagious. And people used to go around the city saying, I wonder what he did to cause Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be so angry with him that he would punish him like this. And so we often will think that someone getting a disease could be, oh, they're being punished for something, or someone getting a disease, oh, they ate really poorly, that's why they have cancer.
So judgmental.
But the truth is that
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose to give somebody something, and it has nothing that we've done wrong, and there's nothing that you could do to avoid it.
Exactly.
But he will choose to test you with something in order to give you a higher level of Jannah, to purify you from sins. We all sin, you know.
Yeah, that's why we
to-
can't make our own judgment. Yeah.
And there are some people who will not open the Quran until they're being tested with their health. They're not going to go back to Allah. Like, so sometimes it's tarbiyah, sometimes it's calling the individual back to Islam, sometimes it's granting the person a higher level of Jannah. So we can't prevent cancer. We cannot prevent cancer. We cannot prevent diseases. If you do your morning adhkar and evening adhkar, and if you are taking your honey every day, and if you are reading your Quran every day, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still chooses to test you with cancer, you have to accept that this is a test from Allah to bring me closer, to test my faith. Am I going to accept? Because a lot of people will say, well, I did my adhkars, why am I getting sick? And so they'll question whether the adhkars work, right? So sometimes the disease is a test to see if you believe. So we can't separate, again, we can't separate and only look at how do we prevent this. That's a modern medicine concept, like eat this to prevent this disease. And I know people, I knew of a man, rahimahullah, he passed away from cancer. And his wife said to me, she said he spent 2 to 3 hours a day at the gym. He was buff. He would have his lemon water every morning. He only ate pure tayyib foods. He was on a very strict diet. He would not eat white bread. He would not do this. He would not do that. Like only grass-fed meat. He had the most perfect diet because he was trying to prevent himself from ever getting cancer. And she says he ended up getting cancer and dying from it.
Allahu.
And meanwhile, you'll see people who will have the most horrendous diets. They will have all the Cokes and sodas and sugary foods, and they will live up until the very old age when they pass away naturally, like from old age. And so we can't prevent that. We can't determine, why does someone who's never smoked a cigarette in their life get lung cancer when someone who's smoked 2 packs for 40 years never get lung cancer?
Mhm.
Like medically, you can't understand it. And it's because as Muslims, we have to submit that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for this individual to bring them somewhere else in their life, in this dunya and in the akhirah. But medicine can't explain that.
Jazakallah khair. So we have a few people actually asking for the contact information. So I'll just display it on the screen. So the Instagram and the website. So that's probably the best way. I think on the website there's a contact me form that you probably.
There is a contact
chat.
me form on the website.
Okay.
And even if they emailed my name, Aiman at propheticmedicine.com, they would be able to reach me directly as well. But on the website and on Instagram, I answer the DMs. So if people find me on Instagram and send me a DM, I would respond, inshallah.
Okay, so we'll add the email also in the description. So right after the podcast, so please check the description for all the contact information. So inshallah, we're a bit over time, so appreciate the sister staying a bit longer to take the questions from the audience. We will end the questions there. I'll just ask one last one and sort of maybe put you on the spot a little bit. But it is Islamic Heritage Month in Canada here. Islamic History Month, October,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it, a lot of activities going on. So, a lot of us are having conversations with our non-Muslim neighbors, or at schools, there's presentations. So from the field of medicine, what's like one sort of thing is like Islam's contribution to medicine that we could sort of share with our co-workers, with our neighbors with all this focus on Islamic Heritage Month?
So that's a really good question, actually. Islam has strong roots in the history of medicine. So at the time when Europe was going through the Dark Ages, Islam and science and medicine was rising. So the likes of Ibn Sina, in Latin, he's known as Avicenna. He had written the Canon of Medicine, which is a 5-volume book. Now, he was Muslim, and whether or not he was on the right aqidah or he had any deviation in his faith, that's not the point of discussion. He was using Islamic principles, and he had become a very renowned doctor at a very young age, and he did not go through medical school, but he ended up writing a 5-volume book called the Canon of Medicine, which in Arabic is the Al-Qanun fi Tib, which is the laws of medicine. His books were taught across Europe for over 600 years. So his books were the books that were taught in all of medical schools across Europe. It was that foundation of 600 years. I don't think there's anywhere that you'll see them teaching the same book for 600 years. That foundation is really what brought us to the medicine that we have here today. So a lot of history, a lot of doctors that we know historically who have contributed to science have been students of Ibn Sina, which is a Muslim scholar. So I think that that's really important for us to know our history as well. There's a lot more. There's like a Zahrawi, and there's a lot more that were involved in botany and herbalism. But Ibn Sina is, I think, the name that everybody is able to remember the most for his contributions. And he had like 600 years in spotlight in medical schools, which is amazing.
Awesome, Jazakallah khair. So I'll clip that up, and inshallah I'll share it.
Inshallah.
So we can share with our sort of all our non-Muslim, even our Muslim friends and family during this month, inshallah. So I think that we'll wrap it up there. So Sister Fatima, I'll pass it back to you just for any closing comments, and to close us out, inshallah.
So thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I learned a lot, and I feel like I hope you guys learned a lot as well. So thank you for like all the knowledge. What's one little small practical tip that you feel like people can start implementing very easily and consistently?
I would say honey every day, a spoon of
Yeah.
honey. Very
Okay,
easy to
guys.
implement.
Okay, guys. So we're
Actually,
gonna
let's
start
do honey and water, because
Okay,
people will
honey and
notice the
water.
difference with that. So if everybody did a tablespoon of honey in a cup of water, soak it the night before, and just leave it covered, the tablespoon of honey in the water. The next morning, it should dissolve a little bit. Stir it, drink it first thing in the morning, and you're going to notice tremendous changes.
Okay, guys. So we're gonna start drinking honey. And yeah, just thank you for watching, guys.